Hi, my name's Ken Freestone. I'm with the Holland Area Arts Council, and we are pleased to have with us one of the world's foremost authorities on WALT's success formula, Bill Capodagli. Bill is co-author of the new edition of The Disney Way, Harnessing the Management Secrets of Disney in Your Company. This book was cited by Fortune magazine as so useful you may whistle while you work. Bill brings to us over 30 years of consulting, research, and teaching experience. For over 20 years, Bill has benchmarked the Walt Disney Company and led scores of organizations in improving their customer service, market share, and productivity using Walt's original success credo. Please join me in welcoming Bill Capodagli.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you to share some of my experience and research regarding one of the most creative, visionary, customer-centric leaders of the past 100 years, Walt Disney. In September of 1966, just 10 months after Walt had announced his plans to build Disney World in Orlando, Florida, he was admitted to the hospital for some routine back surgery. However, while he was there, he was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. He was readmitted to the hospital shortly after Thanksgiving that same year, and only his closest colleagues and family members knew the severity of his illness. Most of his co-workers thought he was going back into the hospital for some follow-up surgery on his back. Little did they know that Walt would never return to his beloved studios and theme park. Those early days in December, as Walt grew weaker and could no longer sit up in his hospital bed, he had his assistant pin the plans to Disney World above his bed so that he can continue to dream and dictate his ideas and plans for that theme park. On the morning of December 15th, 1966, Walt passed on to the next dimension. The executives at Disney decided to open up the theme park, but not to make the announcement of Walt's passing public until the end of the day so that they wouldn't spoil the festive atmosphere at Disneyland. One of the vice presidents told me he wanted to see the reaction of the crowd when the announcement of Walt's passing was made. And he said he'd been there hundreds of times watching the guests leave, and they'd be laughing and talking about their experiences. But when the announcement of Walt's death was made, everyone, people from all over the country, all over the world, mothers, fathers, grandparents, children of all ages, were leaving in dead silence, as if they had just heard the passing of their favorite uncle. Let's fast forward the clock now about 30 years into the future, and I'm at Walt Disney World with a group from British Petroleum. And one of the vice presidents turns to me and he says, "Bill, it's a shame that Walt Disney didn't live to see Walt Disney World completed." And I thought for a second. I said, "You know, George, he did see it. That's why it's here." Walt Disney was a dreamer, a visionary, even during his last seconds here on Earth. But more importantly, he was a communicator. He could articulate his vision to all his stakeholders. He listened to the needs, the wants, the dreams of his customers. He knew he had to have good people around him that would embrace his dream. But it was his job to provide the leadership to make that dream come true. And he defined leadership as the ability to establish and manage a creative climate where people and teams are self-motivated to the successful achievement of long-term goals in an environment of mutual respect and trust. Walt left us over 40 years ago, but his management practices are as relevant today as they were 4 decades ago. And Walt's spirit, his passion, the culture he created still guides the Disney organization. How many of you have been to Walt Disney World or Disneyland? Just about everybody. Can you remember your first time there? I can. It was in 1974 with my 3-year-old son. And I don't know which one of us was more excited. You see, I grew up in the 1950s, and I watched Disneyland being built on TV. I mean, the highlight of my week was the wonderful world of Disney, where Walt would feature a new attraction that he was building. You remember walking onto Main Street? I mean, suddenly you are transported back to 1910 Mid-America, USA. I mean, it's like stepping onto the set of The Music Man. All the buildings look freshly painted. There isn't a piece of trash in sight. not a wilted flower, not even a burnt-out light bulb. We arrived early and we were allowed on Main Street, but the attractions weren't yet open. And I was having a cup of coffee and my son was having some milk when all of a sudden the Disneyland band comes marching down Main Street, led by the true king of the kingdom, who is Mickey Mouse. I mean, at first we were mesmerized, but then we got up and joined the parade. Disney's ability to invoke those types of emotional reactions has resulted in one of the best-known brands in the world. For over 80 years, they have just dazzled their customers, or in Disney terminology, their guests, by their fantasies and larger-than-life experiences. For over 20 of those years, I have professionally benchmarked the Disney organization and studied their practices.